I'm recording. Okay, welcome everyone to SIG Apps. Today's the 2nd of November. My name's Adnan and I'll be leading this today. So quick announcement, start us off. 1.20 beta 1 was released on Tuesday. So if you're eager to try that out, feel free. And jumping into the discussion here, I guess this is somewhat of an announcement as well. So in 2 weeks, we'll be cancelling the next meeting for SIG Apps on November 16th, because it'll be the week of KubeCon, Cloud Native Con, North America. And then as it's Q4 coming up to the end of the year, we'll be cancelling. We're probably going to cancel the week of, or the week after the US Thanksgiving, unless folks here are interested in attending that week. It would be the 30th of November. And then December 28th is probably going to be a break for many. So we'll most definitely cancel that one. It sounds like we'll probably go ahead and cancel Monday 30th as well. Sorry, 30th November as well. Unless anyone would like to speak out and has a strong opinion otherwise. Okay, so the next item on the agenda here is this, the notion of failed in controllers. And this is the contain issue where the stateful set does not update the pod image. Did someone?
Yeah, I added it to the agenda. So the topic is not only for stateful sets. I'm pretty sure that each and every single controller might stumble upon this issue. For some controllers, it's a little bit bigger issue. For others, it is not. But basically, the idea is that a lot of people think that if an image pull fails, or there are some issues with running an image that is actually in a failed state. And unfortunately, it happens so that the kubectl get information is, well, it's not straight failed or not failed. But a lot of people think that, for example, image failed pull is actually a failed container, which is not, because it is actually pending container. And this problem is, I remember that seeing that for jobs a lot. This one was recently brought to my attention with regards to stateful sets. And the question is, like, until now, we usually said that a failed container is one that has a status failed and explicitly failed in the status. But there's a lot of people that think that a failed container, even though printed as such by the kubectl, is actually not failed. And I had a recent issue with kubectl where people were filtering using field selectors, and they were filtering for status phase, and the phase is super old mechanism for expressing that whether a pod is running or not. And oftentimes failed over there means the pod is actually running. And there's a lot of inconsistencies between that and people were complaining. So I was curious what others think, what our approach should be on these failed states.
I don't think image pool is failed for what it's worth. It's just an intermediate state. The registry could have been down. You could have had the wrong permissions. It doesn't mean it won't be successful next time. And that's, if we retry, it's not failed, right? So I understand people not getting the correct message, but I don't think introducing a notion of failed for something that's retried is a good path to solving it.
In that particular case that I linked in the agenda is when they used a wrong pull spec. So they knew it is a wrong. But for us running the container, it's hard for us to justify whether there's a missing pull secret, whether it's a wrong pull spec per se, or there's, as you mentioned, a temporary problem with reaching the registry, or just it just happens that the registry is temporarily down, or one of the intermediate steps that's,
It may become a valid pull spec anytime in the future, depending on the registry, right? So
I think one thing to look at the issue at a little bit of a higher level, right? And not just look at image pool failures as a particular condition that controllers are not particularly sensitive to, but that I guess users would like us to be sensitive to. How much, my concern would be is like, so one, if we try to make the controllers more sensitive to system failures in other components, can we do so in a way that preserves backward compatible behavior with V1? Or would we have to make those types of changes into a V2 anyway, right? So like for stateful set, I could imagine introducing something where you have an option to allow a rollout to progress even when you're using ordered ready in the event that some deadline has expired for a particular pod, right? And I understand, like, I think about that and I understand how that would be very useful for users. But I also think that if we did anything to enable that by default, or we implement a feature like that that fundamentally changes the expectations and behavior of stateful set, we may break more people than we help, right? Because now you have this new behavior that's unexpected that everyone has to adopt. And that's kind of concern one. Concern two is, like, I think, like deployment and replica set, for instance, in the way they batch and in the way they manage expectations with respect to replication for pods, do try to implement some level of sensitivity for the failure of downstream components during replication. But how much of that do we want to pull in as to be universal for all of the workload controllers, right? Because not only does it add complexity across the entire code base that's in the built-in controllers, but as it's becoming increasingly more popular, as people implement their own out-of-tree controllers, now there's an expectation that they would have to implement similar logic in order to preserve that level of resiliency inside of their workload controllers. And if we're trying to push toward a place where it's easy for people to implement custom workload controllers in order to meet their specific use cases, so everything doesn't have to be a built-in, and then we implement a lot of complicated logic inside of the core controllers that we expect them to mirror, we increase the barrier to entry for them to come in and actually do that. We make it harder. So that would be my secondary concern.
We also have a high-level concept, right? We have progress deadline seconds for deployments, which is telling the users on a higher level that the deployment is stuck, something is broken, it is likely the rollout is failed, but we still retry, and we just don't have that concept in the other controllers. Well, and it sets the condition so they can see it, right?
Yeah, and on top of that, you still have liveness and readiness probe, which will kill your pod if it doesn't run within given time frames. So there are all those levels going from the bottom all the way up.
And many of them are opaque, like for instance, not being schedulable, right? Controller tries to create a pod, scheduler says, I can't put you anywhere because, I don't know, you want a scarce resource that's unavailable, or you're scheduled for the wrong operating system, for instance, right? Like your container image isn't compatible with the operating system of the underlying node I want to schedule you on. All of that is opaque from the controller perspective. Like one thing we could do if we want to go down this route is we could try to work with SIG scheduling and SIG node in particular, possibly network as well, and get them to kind of propagate errors up in a more meaningful way. And then we could kind of just implement it as a pass-through, which might be, that's a fairly low barrier to entry in terms of like a paradigm of what the best practice is when you write a controller and how you should be reactive to failures that are beyond the scope of what your controller actually implements during reconciliation, and communicating that to an end user. Like that might be a good place to go, where it's both useful for the end user and it doesn't create a high maintenance burden for anyone who wants to write a controller. And we've had some discussion on that in the past, and particularly for the scheduling, but it just hasn't evolved into anything concrete yet. Majek, what were you looking for as next steps on this? Like, what outcome did you just want to kind of, was it informational, or are we going to try to like, do you want to like open up a CAP or some type of issue to like work on it and think it through?
It is popping on and off my table, and I'm pretty sure that other reviewers as well, from time to time, from different angles. And I was trying to figure out, maybe we should just describe, and I'm not 100% sure how we should describe this. Just to say, to send a clear signal to eventual issues or questions about such functionality, to have a, I don't know, either pre-made document where we would be pointing people to, oh, this is the kind of the trouble, this is the kind of a point that we discussed several times, and this is the outcome, or this is what you should be expecting. I don't have any particular ready answer for this one. It would be nice to have a pointer for future cases such as this one, and I'm pretty sure that there are other issues similar.
Yeah. I think what I would tell the user if I were asked that question is to look for unready pods. You are not looking for failed ones. And unready means there is something wrong with your pod, and you should filter those out. And you can already do that with kubectl. I think it's not an easiest query, I suppose, but you can. I think you can select based on the condition being ready. That's what I do personally. Like if I'm looking for which pods are not running in my cluster, readiness is a great indicator because it covers the failed ones, the ones that are failing for, I don't know, external resources. It doesn't have to be image pool, right? You could do Vuget or something on the beginning of your container startup, and that could be failing as well, and millions of other stuff. So readiness is what they should be looking for, at least in my opinion. But I certainly understand those questions arise.
Maybe this is something we can do better with documentation somewhere.
Right, either that or that. The question is where we could put some kind of information around this.
You could add a section to the workloads concepts on the main page and have some specific like FAQs or like common issues, maybe a concept on operationalization or something like that. So it's just common expectations for the end user when they're working with our APIs. That might not be a bad plan. I mean, like if we do nothing else, that would probably be useful, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a set of frequently asked questions with regards to controllers would definitely be handy. Especially that some of those questions that we've been answering over and over and again.
The interesting thing is for a lot of the questions that we answer over and over again, if you dig deep enough, most of the time there is something documented somewhere. It's just maybe the organization of our documentation isn't what other people like I can find it, but like apparently other people can't, and the fact that I can find it isn't valuable. So
yeah, I mean, ultimately we can just throw it up somewhere, but that's not going to help people find it.
Right. I mean, discoverability and organization is kind of like the I think maybe what the problem is we're facing with communication with the end user. Again, we could put some thought into it and see what we could do better, and maybe even talk to one of the SIGs that's very UX oriented to see where their kind of what their position is and like how they would do it.
But I do think an FAQ section makes sense, and that's always something that we can share as a link when these issues come up, so folks can go and find out more.
Yeah, I think if we start referencing it from the issues, it might help people discover it better, which doesn't solve the general issue, but will get us somewhere.
Yeah, at least with like these kind of issues.
Thing that
I guess oh, sorry, go ahead.
You can go ahead now.
I was just going to say, what would be the way to get that done? Would we go and create an issue in the docs repo or something?
Yeah, you just make a pull request against the docs repo. I can get it started if other people can contribute.
Sounds great.
As a more kind of concrete thing that this got me thinking of, so for progress deadline seconds, right? Like I believe it was already brought up that we have, I think Tomas brought it up that we have this for deployment, but we don't have it universally. I don't know if it makes as much sense for daemon set. Like, like daemon set is very sensitive to nodes entering and leaving the cluster. It's sensitive to taints and tolerations, which may change and affect what gets rolled out where. So it's a little bit harder to reason about the user's expectations with respect to the throughput of pod launch and the throughput of replication for a daemon set. But it might make sense for stateful set. I haven't thought, like job is a bit different too, in the sense that like it runs to completion. So do we think it's valuable enough? And like I do think it's something for stateful set where we could add it in a backward compatible way, because ultimately the only end of like it's not going to affect how the workloads are launched. It would affect communication of an error state to the end user in the status object of the stateful set, which we've already kind of made clear. Even for V1 objects, the status may be mutated in the future. Is it worth pursuing that, do we think, as kind of a point solution to having a better error message and communication when a stateful set is blocked because a single pod is down? Like, not something I've thought of, because like for me, if it happens, it's usually pretty straightforward to like look at it and say, oh, it's blocked. It's not rolling out because this pod is broken and it's not coming up. But if a more concise error message would help based on some expectation of the progress of the rollout for a stateful set, that could be something we could add.
I think it could be useful for a stateful set, and I do share the concerns about a daemon set, because if your cluster gets scaled, like your timeouts may be pretty different. And yeah, for stateful set, I see it most like you have a contour managing a stateful set, and that just doesn't do what you do manually, right? So this makes it observable to operators or other controllers that try to work with stateful sets, and those would get a clear signal.
Yeah. Okay. So we can put that on there as something to pursue.
Yeah, I think that would be a good thing to do in the future. I also don't think it's it's the most important thing we have on our plate, but if someone wants to pursue it, that's certainly a good idea. The issue with stateful sets is actually something I want to fix because I don't think it's how it should work. So.
Okay. Well, anything else on that particular issue? Cool. I guess we can move on. That was the last on the agenda. So does anyone else have anything they'd like to bring up? If not, we have about half an hour left, so we could also do a triage if folks are interested. Otherwise, we can end this one early.
Triage is always useful in my opinion.
Let's do it. Does someone want to take us through that? Share their screen.
Do you want to run it or not?
Sure.
Okay.
Let me just... Oh, why is it not letting me screen share? Okay, there we go. Can you all see this?
I can.
So we had the needs triage label, right? Or is there stuff still that doesn't have that label that we need to go through?
I suppose at some point it will cut off the old issues because those didn't have the label set. It's only for the new issues. So it depends how we want to take it.
Let's see how many there are of these. At least we can go through these first. Controller manager stock in the object has been modified. Please apply your changes. I guess this would depend on how they're modifying the object in their controller. Oh, this is controller manager.
Yeah, but they mentioned that it's only sometimes, and the sometimes is perfectly valid because it will happen that the controller will be trying to overwrite something that was overwritten by a different controller, and we just retry.
Right.
So the sometimes is perfectly valid.
What's their cluster configuration?
It's not very clear. Let me say AKS. In 115, 117, and 118. But yeah, that's It sounds like they're just not aware that that's a thing that happens. Although, yeah, I don't know. This doesn't really seem like an actual issue. What do folks think? I guess how do we triage issues like this, which probably need a bit more information?
Yeah, and there are 3 SIGs, so
Yeah.
someone needs to assign someone, likely. And this doesn't seem like a bug on the first look, at least not in the controller itself.
Yeah.
Suppose it seems like SIG scaling is already looking into it.
Is that where Wojciech is from?
Yeah, at least that's what I think.
Okay. I guess we can leave this one in NeedsTriage and see if one of the others, we can probably remove, well, I guess this isn't strictly SIG apps. We could probably remove SIG apps, to be honest.
Well, SIG Apps is an API server, not a watch cache, and if anything, this seems to be related either to it or etcd. We just call the API. Well,
Yeah.
someone else has opinions.
I think we can remove SIG apps from this.
Yeah,
Is it remove -SIG apps?
I don't think there's a space and the dash. Or actually, you might be right.
Let's try that. Ah, it worked. Nice. Let's see what else we have. Job should add waiting pending status. So this is just better
It is
statuses for
literally-
job.
It is literally a topic similar to what we just discussed.
Right.
Someone just wants the job to copy every pod. And I'm pretty sure that someone is running a single pod job. Send it my way.
Okay.
I'll respond and I'll make sure to close this one.
Oops.
TYSH. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Replication controller should test the lifecycle of replication controller. Failing test. Are we aware of this failing test?
I can have a look into it.
Okay.
Is it only on Windows?
Yeah, that's what I was scared of.
That's strange.
Timeout for the condition that's usually pod not coming up or something, but I would have to pull down the logs and
Right.
prove it's not us.
Yeah, Windows. Fun. Conjure produces seemingly random warnings for sandbox creation failures.
Well, that's not cron job related.
Generally, Sandbox is Cryo or Kubelet, not SIG Apps.
Right. I would send it to SIG node. Not sure why
Yeah.
it landed in SIG Apps. The only
That's container runtime.
Manually.
exactly. Because it has cron job in the title, so somebody moved it over to SIG Apps. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think there was a. There was also a bot I saw that was doing some signing based on the title. Conjure without restart policy results in an invalid restart policy always.
Okay. If that's the case, yeah, that's a bug. That should be send him away. It's a big bug if we're not doing
Okay.
this. Oh, I see there's an open PR. I'll have a look.
Okay.
Thanks.
Should I guess.
No, I'll find the PR. I have
Okay.
I have the bug. I'll find the PR. Thanks.
I just hope it didn't unassign. Okay, good. Oh, I should have triage accepted as well. Okay. Stateful set spec volume claim templates doesn't have a merge key. Is this just in the open API spec?
I don't know how you can't mutate it yet. So, I mean, I don't know what this would do. Like if you create a stateful set with a volume claims template and then you try to, we're looking at opening up mutation for the template to allow resizing of volumes. But as it stands, if you try to do a strategic merge patch on volume claim template, it's going to get rejected anyway.
Yeah, I get the feeling this is more for customized. So this would be before it's even in the server, because customize uses strategic merge patch to apply overlays.
All right, you can assign to me. I'll take a look.
It
Okay.
sounds like config generation, not the runtime issue, right?
Yeah. So then, I mean, we could add the key. Yeah, we could add the key for the strategic merge patch in the open API spec if that helps. But it's, yeah, okay.
I certainly don't mind if we fix it. Just there's no runtime issue with it. So if they want it, we will accept the PR, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess the concern is if we added it, it would be confusing because it wouldn't have. the intended effect.
To be fair, we want to open up the volume claims template for your mutation so you can do online resizing anyway. So it's something that we'd have to do eventually, and we have to make it mutable before we actually implement. No, we have to do the mutation first before we make it mutable. But yeah, we can do this.
Okay, cool. So those are all of those. Let's see. Did I just do that wrong, or have we actually
We used to filter by no assignee before, if you want to make that happen.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I guess this one's been looked at, but it hasn't been assigned.
But it says triage accepted, but it doesn't have anyone assigned.
I mistyped it.
Oh, yeah.
I'll fix it.
There we go.
Oh. At least we know who to blame.
Conjure controller does not use shared informers and causes SIG cluster slow log alarm.
That's not surprising, and I'm pretty sure there's already an open issue about it. What's the number? 88025?
Yeah, this one is 88025. And they tagged this one as well.
I'll have a look. I'm pretty sure that there's already something, and yeah, I'll tag it with.
This is probably that original issue, right? Yeah. Okay, I'll tag it.
Might have been.
Okay. Actually, let me give it the. Expose controller revision hash table from history package.
So there's this new library called component helpers. We could probably expose that functionality over there. I'm not sure. I wonder because I think the CubeAPI already is reading that. I'm not sure how far.
What does he want to expose? Like that variable is public. Like I mean,
and the function is public as well.
So
I think he wants to have something so that he doesn't have to
import Kubernetes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's that.
he also doesn't reference a particular revision, so at the time he referenced it, it could have been a different code, which is unfortunate, but
it is one another option. Yeah. Well, it's February 5th, so.
Okay, it's 4 years back. We certainly don't want to expose it as an API, right? That's something we don't want to commit to.
Automated refactor on March 1st.
Context? Oh, delete options.
Oh, I see. Okay, that should be fine. Okay, well, I can assign it to you, Saltish, and then I can match it.
Yeah, I'll have a look, and I'll eventually comment or what can happen with this.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Controller stuck in waiting even for permanent errors, image not found. Restart policy never.
Well, that looks familiar.
Yeah. And they seem to strongly think this is a permanent error.
Well,
yeah,
yeah, obviously
it's
because
a repeating error. It's not
Right,
a permanent error.
it's a permanent because he put there explicitly a not-existing tag.
Unless someone creates it on Docker Hub.
Right.
Until that one will exist, exactly. So, oh, and he was nice enough to point to 4 other issues, which I'm guessing are of similar. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, looks like Liggett already made the point. So I'm not sure why it's still open. Oh, there's a lot of comments after that. I suppose Jordan gave up.
Yeah. There are people that will continue saying, well, you are wrong and we need it.
So who is the nice person who's going to explain it? Ken is great at being polite, but I don't want to blame
I
him.
had to step away for a second. What is this?
It's one of those image pool is permanent, but it's actually just repeating. And
It's literally what we discussed earlier today.
we were just looking for someone who is good at politeness. And
I'll take it. It's fine.
Jordan's already responded as well.
yeah, Jordan already made the explanation. Just, I suppose someone needs to
Close it.
take it to closing.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I did that some time ago, and people started complaining. Yeah, of course it got reopened.
Yeah, like I get some people don't want their issues closed, but we have to have a line where we just don't keep millions of issues open.
Agreed. All right, I gave it to you, Ken, to close that one out. CubeAPI server locking is trace mode, which results in a large amount of logs. How to close?
Wonder how that relates to SIG Apps.
Yeah, why is this type of SIG Apps?
Yeah, someone wrote it there. It's API out.
Yeah, I would.
No device plugin callback for releasing devices against allocate.
It's referencing a kubelet code.
Yeah, this is also.
Someone doesn't like SIG Apps.
Who tags SIG Apps? Oh. This is probably SIG node, right?
Yeah, kubelet is SIG node.
Cool. Updating image tag for a stateful set does not update the pods. Isn't this literally the same issue as the other one?
It sounds like the stack stateful set.
Does.
Assign me. I have the other issue, so I can probably close it as a dupe.
Okay.
TNO.
Okay. Okay. Support and require explicit time zones for recurring jobs.
Send it my way. I'll close this one as a duplicate of the other one where we said we won't do it.
Cool. Add startup resource requirements.
Resources are node, in my opinion. That's container level.
Is that what they're asking for? Node level?
It sounds like it. No.
It sounds like this is. It would like start the container with higher resource request limits and then reduce it.
I think I was looking at something like that, and something like that is already available, I think. But I would send it over to Node team. They own that one.
I mean, it sounds like they want to do something with burstable QoS, but they want a startup to be like, they want to have like they want a very fixed burstable QoS where you start up high and then I guess you taper back down with a different limit.
Oh, sorry. I messed it up with startup probes.
But you could do this. I mean, well, I guess they want some hybrid between burstable QoS with only 2 burst modes. Like they want reserved QoS, but in 2 different kind of categories, like a startup category where you get guaranteed 1 GB, 1 CPU with the same limit, and then dropping to 200 after, which you can't do, but.
I think the issue would be if your container restarts, you are already scheduled to a node and you are already taking resources, and the decision isn't reconsidered at the time of restart. So I don't think they will be likely to succeed with it.
Yeah, I just don't think you can carve the machine up this way. Like it doesn't make sense from a scheduling perspective. They're just going to have to go with burstable QoS with 200 meg, 200 M duty cycle as their low, and then 1 gig, 1 CPU as their high.
Yeah.
Because I mean that's the honest truth. Like you just said, if it restarts, you could burst to that, and that's the expected behavior. So that's really what your workload shape looks like. And there's not anything we're going to do that's more intelligent with the additional information from a scheduling perspective.
Yeah, I think this is SIG Apps then. Yeah, maybe we should just tell them it's not really. Doesn't really make sense to do. Should I assign it to you, Ken? Do you want to reply? Ken? Oh, well, I'll assign it to you anyway. Add the next run job's time to cron job status.
It's one of the possible directions. I think it's already on my name. But no, it's not. You can send it my way.
Well,
but
oh,
yeah.
They just did it wrong. Okay.
Yeah, we can consider that, but that will be only after we do the new controller.
Mhm. Not drain node with pod with more than one pod distortion budget.
It looks like Morten is already on it, so just
Great.
using the assign, I suppose. Also, why would you do this? But
Yeah. Let me explain why. Why they want it supported.
he just wants it. Yeah.
It's very easy to get in state without any feedback. That's fair.
Right.
Yeah, okay. No, just that one. Another cron job.
Yeah, send them our way.
Yes. I think you're already here.
I guess, yeah, I'll probably respond that we will reconsider all those cron job related issues after we GA the new controller. I don't want to complicate this even more.
Makes sense, yeah. Drain daemon sets. A flag to drain to support. A flag to drain to support draining daemon set managed pods too. Yeah, why is this SIG Apps?
But Cube Control Drain already looks at the daemon sets because there's a separate flag for ignoring daemon sets. So I'm not sure what he's talking about because daemon sets should be included by default. If you want to get rid of them, then that's a separate topic. Send it my way. I'll respond. Okay. I'll try to figure out what they mean. Read through this.
Yeah. Daemon set ignores some taints on the nodes, right? So they could possibly come back.
Yes. Yes.
But say you have a daemon set for, I don't know, SDN or some networking there. You actually want to drain the pods, not the daemon set itself, I suppose. So there would be different use cases, I suppose.
Yeah, but that's how we have both options already in the drain command.
And you have force right there.
So. Yeah, that as a last resort, yes, we have force.
Wow, Google Docs is not engineering today. All right, I gotta run to another call. So we'll end this here.
Yeah, thanks for running the triage.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thanks a lot.
Have a good one. Bye.
And just a reminder, we won't be meeting next week because it's KubeCon. So I'll see you all in 4 weeks.
Right.
Take care,
in
everyone.
4 weeks.